So coming into an easy seated position, and just take a little time adjusting there so that you have a feeling of spaciousness and support and ease, and taking enough height under your sitting bones that you're feeling tall in your spine. And as you're ready, joining the hands together in front of the heart and closing the eyes. Allowing your breath to come and go without any changes made on your part. Noticing any sensations in the body. Maybe noticing things that are around you, maybe in the room you're in or outside of the room. And maybe here inviting a certain wish into your heart for this practice, maybe for your day, for the week ahead. And as you feel ready, bowing towards your heart, releasing your hands and lifting your head, letting your eyes gently open. And welcome. So we're going to take a forward bending practice today, and I'm inviting everybody just to kind of make the priority of space be first and foremost. And a lot of ways we create space in forward bends is actually with using props. So we're going to come into child's pose, and if you'd like to, you could prop your lap, you could prop your heels, you could prop the front of you, just making yourself feel supported and spacious. So take your knees wide. You can rest your head or maybe your cheek. Gently taking the tip of the tailbone down toward the floor. We're going to start to take the pose to each side. So before you do, just imagine that you're keeping your sitting bones exactly where they are. You're not going to try to lift your butt away from your heels. Just start to move your hands to the right, bringing your torso over the right thigh. And since the thigh is under the chest now, you're probably not going to bring your head all the way down. So just allowing the head to float through the space of the arms. Bringing some breath into the left side of the body. Going farther, if your body is ready for a little bit more, you can keep moving the hands to the right. Start to move your hands back towards center. And then continuing to the left, raising the torso up over the left thigh. Finding that first edge, straightening out the arms, bowing the head, and allowing the breath to come and go, feeling the right side body starting to elongate, all the way up to the armpit. On an in-breath, you'll start to move back to center. If you have any props in your way, you can move them out of the way. We're going to come into downward facing dog next. So taking the knees a little bit closer together so they're in line with the hips. Turning the toes under, exhale, extending your legs. Think about the flesh of your legs moving from front to back. Think about rolling your inner knees back. Moving the hips away from the wrists. A couple deep breaths here. And the next time you breathe in, raise the right leg as high as it will go. And then on an exhale, bring the right knee down to the floor. So it's right under your hip. Good, and you'll pivot to the inner left foot and start to set up a modified side plank. So you're pointing your hips and shoulders to the left. And we're just gonna wake up the arm, shoulder, chest, upper back by taking the left arm up and just starting a nice big kind of clock arm rotation, sweeping the arm around in a slow, smooth circle. And do it a couple of times. And then the next time you come near the ear, you'll leave the arm alongside the ear and kind of hold this version of side angle pose. You should feel the left side body really elongating. And go ahead and put yourself back into table pose. We'll come back to downward facing dog on an exhale. And again, a couple deep breaths. Each in-breath bringing a sense of space into the body. And the next time you breathe in, use that to raise the left leg as high as you can. Keep both legs straight. And on an exhale, take the left knee to the floor. And then you'll pivot to the inner right foot and start to turn the hips and shoulders and chest to face the right. And then finding that right arm coming up and taking some big sweeping circles with the arm, nice and slow, so you can really kind of sense your way around here. You can feel each part of that rotation. And the next time you're near the ear, you'll leave the arm alongside the ear and feel the right side body really elongate. Just make sure to include some deeper breaths. Good. And go ahead and find your way back to table pose. Curling the toes underneath, and one last time coming into downward facing dog. And begin to walk in toward the hands until you have your feet directly underneath you. Keep the feet somewhat distant, so hip distance is a good spacing. Soften your knees. Most of us probably need a little bit of relaxed knee here. Grab your elbows and just let the weight of the trunk descend toward the floor. Especially the head. You might need to shake your head to kind of bring that sense of weightedness to the head. And just start to gently, you're kind of drifting in the breeze here, swinging slowly side to side. Just kind of individually waking up the legs here. They're just kind of rocking back and forth like you're rocking a baby in your arms. And start to slow that down until you become still again and drop the arms. Bend your knees, take hold of your hips, engage your stomach muscles and come all the way up. And I'm going to have you guys find your 2 blocks. And just put them right in front of you. We're going to come into Ardha Uttanasana and then Parshva Uttanasana, moving the pose to the side. So just begin with feet hip distance, blocks in front of you. Raise the arms. Inviting that sense of spaciousness that we try to maintain the feeling of when we start to become more compact in forward bends. Come to the top of an in-breath, and then exhale, extending forward. Grab onto your blocks, and just be in the half pose here, Ardha Uttanasana. So look forward, take the shoulder blades into the front body. Try to scoop your stomach toward your back for a little more support. Balance your feet. Find your straightest legs, which might mean they're still somewhat bent. And on an exhalation, then try to cascade the torso toward the floor, coming into the full Uttanasana. You might lower your blocks. You might be able to bring your hands down to the floor. On an inhale, you're going to come back to Ardha Uttanasana. And we're going to move the blocks to center in front of the right foot. So you want the blocks kind of equidistant in front of the right foot. And rather than rotating your hips, I want you to imagine your butt is up against a wall. Keep it there and slide your torso to the right. So we're not trying to swivel the hips. We're trying to slide the torso to the right. That's good. So your hips and shoulders should still be on the same even kind of plane with each other. So inhale here. And on the exhale, extend toward the right leg. Again, your blocks might come down. You might be able to bring hands all the way to the floor. But just notice how you can individually start to comb through the tension in the right leg with your breath in Parshva Uttanasana. Again, try to tap into the weight of the head, surrender the weight of the head. You might need to move your chin in small circles. You might need to shake your head. And try to let the head support the decompression of the spine. And on an in-breath, you'll come back to the Ardha Parshva Uttanasana, so the half side forward bend. Walk yourself to center, and then you'll keep moving your blocks to the left and evenly putting them to the inner and outer foot. They might be in front of the foot, not next to, but try to have even spacing so that they're kind of centered around that foot. And again, make sure you didn't rotate your hips, so your buttocks are on the same plane as if they're against a wall. You've slid your torso to the left now. You're taking a big breath in, and then exhale, extending toward the left leg. Again, blocks can move down, hands can move lower. Let's say 5 deep breaths here. And when you're ready to inhale, just bring yourself back to the concave or flat lumbar position. Bring yourself back to center with the blocks. And then again, bend your knees a little bit, engage your stomach muscles, take hold of your hips, come all the way up. And put yourself in Tadasana. So close your eyes. The shoulders back. Try to position the skull right above the spine. Take the horizontal midline of the buttocks and just bring it forward toward the front body as you compress your thighs back. So we create this outer body firmness that, as a result, feels more spacious internally. So we're going to open our eyes. We're going to take Utkatasana, chair pose, starting from Tadasana, which is a very spacious upright pose. Chair pose, we start to bend at the hips and the knees. And so I want you to kind of feel the spaciousness of Tadasana continuing into Utkatasana. That's kind of the idea here. So from Tadasana, raise the arms so that you're really inviting that extension, the upward spaciousness of the body. Take an inhale, and on your exhale, start to bend your knees, really tap into the tripods of your feet, the ball mounds, the heels. Your toes might lift actually. Sometimes the toes kind of float up as a way to help the ball mounds sink in. Take the tailbone into the body. Try to keep your face relaxed. Keep your chest open. So still trying to find that spaciousness of Tadasana as we become a little bit more compact. Scooping the belly toward the back, like the underside of an umbrella. 3 more breaths. And on your inhale, you can rise up. Exhale, release the arms and just feel yourself in Tadasana. Again, close the eyes. Let the breath smooth its way out. Good. And now we're going to do that kind of in reverse order. We're going to take Uttanasana, the more compact pose, and we'll find our way into chair pose, what you just did, Utkatasana. So you can start from raising the arms, Tadasana, lengthen forward, find Ardha Uttanasana again, and then find Uttanasana from there, bowing deeply, lowering the hands as close to the floor as they go. And then you're going to move your hands to your hips, look forward, squeeze the elbows together, take the buttocks toward the floor, try to raise the torso up, move the tailbone in, and then extend the arms overhead. 5 breaths. Nice work. We're going to go back to Uttanasana. So on an exhale, fold forward over the thighs, bring your hands down and begin to straighten the legs and let the head go. Now go ahead and take your hips, squeeze the stomach muscles. Kind of the action we talked about weeks ago with the psoas of the hip bones moving closer together. That's going to help you engage those transverse abdominals, which are really important to your abdominal strength. And once you're upright, just take a few moments in Tadasana. Receiving the breath as it comes and goes. Okay, so we're going to come into Parsvottanasana, and there's a few options here. It's kind of a choose your own adventure. So if your hands to the floor is really a reach for you, you're losing that sense of spaciousness. The hands to the blocks are even a reach, you're losing that sense of spaciousness. You might instead use a chair seat. So the idea here is really to protect the space. And another option is to take a blanket, and we're going to put it over our right thigh. And you don't have to do this. For some of us, I've noticed in the past that holding the blanket there isn't quite happening with the depth of the fold that we're in. So you might try this, and it may or may not be for you, but it's fun to try these things sometimes. So whether you're using blocks or the chair, they're going to be to the right side of the mat. You're going to have your right foot forward, left foot back. If you're going to try the blanket, you're just going to hold it over your right thigh. And this is going to kind of help you keep a sense of spaciousness in the hip joint and the abdomen. And that pressure will also help you open the back body. Remember, for this pose, you really want your hips to level up with the front body, so you don't want that left hip rotating back. So take a moment here, just kind of squaring the hips and shoulders. Make sure your feet are wide enough you're not on a balance beam. And so you're going to come forward attempting to catch that blanket in your kind of half forward fold where you're still concave or flat back. And this is where you might decide, oh, that's not for me, it's not working, something's off. And then just skip it, because I don't want you to get frustrated with just managing your props. So just like your sideways uttanasana, rather than swiveling your hips to get your chest over your right thigh, try to slide your torso to the right so that your butt is still against that imaginary wall. Do your best to straighten out both legs, moving the legs from front to back. Anchor into your left heel. Reach your breastbone forward, extend your torso, and try to keep your right side body equally long with your left. Come to the top of an inhale, and on your exhale, bow toward your right leg. Letting your head gently descend, kind of dangle from the spine. Your hands are as low as they go, whether you're using the chair, the blocks, the floor. Keep your hips squeezing toward midline as well as rotating to a level frontal plane. And as you hold all these wise actions, hopefully you're getting a sense of freedom, space inside the body. And if you aren't, you might want to modify, maybe pull back a little bit somehow out of the pose. Because there's a little momentum to the right, you want to anchor into your right big toe, left small toe to equalize. And we'll be here 5 more breaths. And after the next exhale, you can start to look forward. You might bend your right knee. We're going to start to kind of bring the left foot to be next to the right foot. Let your blanket drop and stand yourself up. Right where you're standing, just put yourself back in Tadasana. Drop the shoulders. Try to balance the feet. Let your attention move throughout your body here. Looking for kind of cranky areas in the body and just finding ways to quiet those down. And then when you're ready, you can help yourself gently set up for the left side of Parsvottanasana. If that blanket was good for you, you'll want to catch it kind of into the left hip crease. Right foot steps back. Take a moment in the upright position just to make sure the hips are like headlights, that you don't have the right hip rotating back. Your legs are straight. And then as you're ready, you can bow forward, hopefully catching the strap into that hip crease and aligning the blocks so they're evenly spaced around the left foot and chair seat if you're using chair seat. And then make sure that you don't have your left buttock pushing back. We want to really slide the torso, torso to the left. Take a few breaths here, looking forward, just encouraging the length of the torso. Try to elongate the left side body, which tends to shorten here. We don't want to look like a banana if we were looking at our back bodies. It should be evenly long. Come to the top of an in-breath. And on an exhale, then try to extend yourself really well toward the left leg. Relaxing elbows, lowering hands, bowing the head. So even though we've kind of brought more into the pose, the blanket, even though it's taking up space, is giving us a sense of spaciousness, giving us a sense of reinforcement, giving us contact with the chest and thigh if that's not something that normally comes without the blanket. So we can treat these props like spacers, even though they're material and they're taking up more space. They're kind of somehow giving us a sense of spaciousness. Just 5 more breaths. You should be in that stage of the pose. That's the repose in the pose. You've built the pose well. Now you're letting the pose work on you. And after your 5th breath out, you can inhale back to your flat concave lumbar position on the blocks, on the chair seat. And then maybe bend the left knee and step the right foot closer in, and then bring yourself up. You can just move the blanket to the floor, let it drop. Holding Tadasana for a few moments. So there's the experience in the pose, there's the experience after the pose. So it's good to take little breaks like we do, just to kind of feel how the poses land, physically, energetically, how the breath is affected. It's all good information. And then when you're ready, you're going to come back to setting up the right foot forward, left foot back. We're going to come into a pose that's more of a new age pose, but it's a really good one. Humble warrior. So you can put your 2 blocks kind of to the left corner of the mat. Your right foot will step forward, your left foot will step back. So it's essentially your warrior 1 legs. The back foot should be anchored to the floor, especially the outer foot, protecting that little inner arch. Your right knee is on top of the right ankle. And now you're going to take your hands and just have both hands on your blocks, but your arms are inside the right leg. And you want to kind of squeeze your right knee to your right arm to your right knee. So take a few breaths just looking forward, inviting the breastbone forward. This looks good, you guys, nice. And then on an exhale, you're going to again just let the torso start to cascade toward the floor. You're going to come lower on your blocks probably. You might rest your hands. You might be able to rest your forearms depending on the depth you're able to find here. But continue to let the head weight drop. Continue to squeeze your shoulder and arm together. Continue to breathe. On an inhale, you're going to come back to the higher position, and you're going to walk with your blocks to your wide standing forward bend. So I realize that we're not going to face the camera, all of us, including me, but this will be brief. So just be in the wide standing forward bend on your 2 blocks with your arms on your blocks, so the blocks are right under your shoulders. Make sure the toes are lined up. Look forward. And on an exhale, take a few moments in the full forward bend. On an inhale, come back to your long arms, your looking forward position, and keep walking with your blocks now to face the left end of the mat. The left foot should have pivoted forward there. We're going to take the second side of that humble warrior. So the blocks again will go inside the left foot. Anchor your right foot. Try to find your, as close as you can to a 90-degree knee here with the left knee. And then spend a little time looking forward and winding the inner upper arms out, spreading the chest, smiling from armpit to armpit. Look forward. Use that back heel to extend away from. Even if the heel isn't down, you can still direct it toward the floor and feel somewhat anchored that way. Come to the top of an inhale. And on your exhale now, you're going to bow toward the floor, squeezing the left knee and shoulder together. You might be resting on your hands, you might be resting on your forearms, you might be somewhere in between. Let the head just kind of dangle from the spine. You should have clear view of your right arch of your foot. Hopefully you have one. If not, try to find a way to grab the floor with the outer foot and create a little lifting of the inner arch of the foot. A few breaths massaging the left hip space. After this exhale, come back to your tall arms. And again, we're going to walk to center with the blocks for that second wide standing fold. Make sure your feet are on the same line. Your toes are in front of your heels. Take an in-breath looking forward and exhale, folding into your second wide standing fold. Just 5 breaths. And come back to inhale, looking forward, and find a way to walk your feet together. Bend your knees, take your hips, squeeze the stomach muscles, pull the hip bones together and come up. And find yourself in Tadasana. Maybe the feet can come together now, maybe you're still keeping some distance. But just find the firm and steady kind of outer body. Feeling the spaciousness. Last week we talked a lot about the point 0, which is really a juncture of vertical and horizontal space in the body. And go ahead and release the pose, open your eyes. You might shake your limbs out a little bit. We're going to head into several seated forward bends. So I told people that chairs are optional if getting your head down lower is not really an option for you. You might work with your chair in front of you for some of these, but also have blankets to sit on. Have a second blanket to support some of these poses. Have your strap. And the first pose we're going to do, we're going to be taking hero pose with the right leg and extending the left leg forward. If that's not an option for you, you can take a Janu Shirshasana, which is having the knee out to the side. Otherwise, put your right leg in hero pose. So because we have such height on the right side, we have to give some height to the left side. So for me, it's a block amount, but for you, it might be less, it might be more. So try to put something under your left buttock so that you feel that your hips are on the same plane. You're not falling, the left hip isn't falling lower than the right. Remember, for hero pose, your heel should be just slightly wider than the hip. We don't want to have the invisible foot. So you have a little bit of a W position with the leg. And then we're going to work with the strap, taking the strap to the left foot. So just catch the strap right under the ball mounds of the left foot. And for most of us, we tend to see the outer foot moving more forward than the inner foot. So there's a sickling happening there. So just reaching the inner foot away from your body so that you see the inner and outer foot is aligned, it's even, it's not distorted. If we tend to sickle a lot, we tend to get very dull and tight and short to our inner thighs. And most of us are very short in our inner thighs for other reasons. So we don't want to get even shorter. So reaching out through the inner foot is a good thing to remember. So you're going to wrap your hands so that your elbows are just beneath the shoulder line. try to anchor into your right leg, whether it's in hero or modified position, especially the small toe if you're in hero pose, the outer shin if you're in hero pose. Inhale big here, and then exhale, come forward with a concave or flat lumbar. So you might not move very far, it might be an inch or two. Make sure you're not throwing your head forward either. Keep your head pulled back, pull your strap as much as you can, get the breastbone forward. Feel some spaciousness come into the front body. So in forward bends, everything moves back except the breastbone. Just the breastbone should be pulling forward here. Come to the top of an in-breath, and on your exhale, you're going to rest your head on something. So it might be an additional block, it might be the chair, it might be a blanket. You can let go of your strap, but keep the leg active. And keep some awareness in your right leg side working for you as an anchor. So if you're feeling like you just kind of collapsed, you might feel that the pose is no longer spacious. You could take an additional blanket and just like we did earlier, kind of wedge it into the hip crease, creating some contact between your chest and thigh that wasn't there before maybe. Find a way to support the head. I've added my 2 fists to my block. It's just a way to quiet the brain so you can really receive the benefits of the forward bend and not feel stressful or irritable or like you're waiting it out. And then on an in-breath, start to inhale and come up. We always want to be careful about the knees as we transition. So if you do have the hero leg, attempt to transition to a Marichyasana position where you're stepping the foot down. I know you have height under your buttocks. You're going to have to help yourself to the floor. And then extend your legs and just take a moment, pulling the toes toward you, stretching the backs of the legs in Dandasana, relieving the flexion of that right knee. And then we can set up for second side. So again, you'll go into a left-sided hero position with your leg. And the right leg will extend forward. Then we want to have sufficient height under the right buttock so that we feel even across the hip line and the pelvis. You might start with that blanket if it was a nice remedy for you to kind of find a little more spaciousness here. You might know you'll need a block to get your head down. You might need your chair. So have those things ready. And then we'll begin with just grabbing the foot with the strap, trying to reach out through the inner arch of the foot so that the inner and outer feet are level. And have your elbows right under your shoulders, your chest forward. Come to the top of an inhale. And on your exhale, hinging at the hip line, coming forward, leading with the breastbone, floating the belly back. Meet your edge, which might be that you moved half an inch, that's okay. And from that point, you're going to try to come forward with the trunk and rest the head. So you can let the strap go. You can trust that you've gotten to your edge in a good way. You might build up some height to meet your head. If you feel like your abdomen pushes out when you breathe in, try a few breaths, spreading the abdomen back toward the back body when you breathe in to create space that way. And we'll take an inhale up and out of it. Start to kind of deconstruct the setup. If you had the hero leg, step the foot onto the floor, and then find your way down to the floor with the buttocks. Extend the leg. Hold Dandasana for a moment just to relieve the back of the knee, and then maybe shake your legs out. Kind of refreshing the energy of the legs. Okay, so now we're going to come into Marichiasana. So we'll take the right knee. Make sure you're on some height with your sitting bones. Take enough height underneath you that when you run your hand across the lower back, it either comes in, it's concave, or it's flat. We definitely don't want a rounded lower back. We won't get very far in the pose that way. So one way to create a little more space here is to step the right foot just slightly farther to the right. For some people, that opens up a little room in the pose. Again, you might work with the blanket over your left thigh. You might already have that chair kind of over your left shin if you know your head is going to need that amount of height. And just like we had that humble warrior, even though the right knee wants to fall out, I want you to squeeze the right knee back toward midline. So in essence, the knee should be lined up kind of with your shoulder, with the toes, not any wider. Both arms are going to be working within the space of the right knee, and you're going to take hold of the left foot, same location right below the mounds, the ball mounds. So we're already a little bit confined here. We have the arm kind of within the space of the leg. So in the upright way, try to find a way to recover some spaciousness. Shoulders come back, squeeze the knee toward your arm. Take a few breaths in, feeling the extension of the spine. And then on an exhale, come forward, meet your edge, and then you can let go of the strap and start to create some sort of a pedestal for the forehead. So using anything, you can just be creative about it. Once the head is down, we can start to really kind of explore the pose in a less stressful way. Keeping some of those efforts maintained, like the squeezing in of the right knee to the shoulder, the extension of the left leg, the space finding of the torso, floating the belly back with every in-breath. Reaching the breastbone forward, even though it keeps trying to retract. Continue to draw it forward. Okay, and then inhale and come up. And because the right leg is so ready for this, we're going to take Jani Shirshasana right away with the right leg. So just let your knee fall out. You might manipulate the flesh of your leg so that you can get the heel closer into the inner thigh, which means you would roll the calf muscle away from you. You would roll the under thigh from the inner under thigh to the outer under thigh. You might prop your right knee. So if you see the knee kind of floating in the air, put a blanket under it. And you might use the second blanket if you haven't used it to prop the knee. You might include that over the left thigh just to have a little spacer there, a little reinforcement. And then make sure your chair is there. If you're using a chair, you'll take hold of the left foot again. Hold the elbows in line with the shoulders. And just take a moment to give some purpose to your right leg. If it's just sitting there, you're not going to feel very inspired to fold forward. So reach out through the inner thigh of the right leg, out through the inner knee, attach an imaginary kind of a guy line to whatever wall your knee would meet if it kept going. Reach, reach, reach. And then pulling on that strap, take a few breaths. Try to line up your breastbone with your left leg. Make sure you're reaching out through the inner left foot. And then come forward, meet your edge. Once you're there, you can let go of your strap, create some sort of a setup to support your head. And take the next 5 or so breaths, just feeling into the pose. rolling that outer left hip back. Try to create a sense of evenness to the sides of the torso. We don't look like a banana. Elongate the left side body. And on an in-breath, you can find your way up. Step the foot back into the Marichyasana position. And then extend the leg. Take Dandasana for a moment, firming the legs to the floor, squeezing the quadriceps, make sure the knees are really stabilized. And then maybe release those efforts and bounce the legs just so you refresh your leg energy. And then we'll come into the second side of both of those. So Marichyasana was first. You're going to bend the left knee. Bring it close enough in that you feel you're still able to hold yourself over your sitting bones. Don't go beyond that point though. Maybe take the foot a little bit farther to the left to create a little more room for the torso to pass forward, come forward. Maybe throw your blanket over your right thigh, if that's been useful. Position your chair over your right shin if you're using it. And then take hold of the foot. And both arms will be to the right of the left knee. Check out the instep of your foot. Make sure it's reaching out. Sit up tall. Come to the top of an in-breath. And then exhale, lead with your breastbone. Keep squeezing the left knee toward the left shoulder or arm. There'll be a stopping point in your body. That's probably your first edge. So you'll let go of the strap, try to maintain this angle you've created. Find a way to get your head supported using whatever you need. And just 5 good breaths here. Remember to spread the abdomen back with those inhales. Shoot the breastbone forward as well. One more in-breath. And the next one you take, just let it carry you up. And now we're going to feel some relief coming into Jani Shirshasana with this leg. So the hip can now just release open. You might adjust the flesh of the legs to help your heel come to the upper inner thigh. Make sure to take care of that left knee if it needs some support. And create that purpose. So really extend from the inner thigh out through the inner knee, continuing to whatever wall you would meet, reaching the leg out and down. And then making contact with your right foot. Pulling back on your strap. Kind of pin the elbows to your sides to create a broadness across the chest and shoulders. Check out the foot. Make sure you're not rotated in. Come to the top of an in-breath and start to move forward in that way. Sternum lining up with the with the right leg. And eventually you'll just stop, and this will be your kind of your perfect edge. You can let go of the strap, building up some height under your head. You'll notice the left hip and shoulder want to float back. So continue to rotate, left shoulder forward, left hip forward. Remember the experience of Parsva Uttanasana. Trying to slide the trunk to the right here, not by rotating the hips. And just a few more nice waves of breath. after the next exhale, just inhale, gently bring yourself up. And you'll stand your left foot onto the floor, extend the left leg, take a moment to press the legs down into the floor to really open the backs of your knees. And then maybe release that and bounce the legs or do what you need to do to refresh your legs. Okay, so the last seated pose is Paschimottanasana, the Western facing forward bend. If you know your head is going to need the chair, you'll put it over both legs now. Otherwise, you'll work with what you've been working with. Same lap blanket if that's been useful to you. Sometimes I even double it up right where it meets me so I have a little more going on there. That really does help my belly push to my back body. So for me, that's a really good choice, but everybody's built differently and everybody receives the poses differently. So you have to make sure it's working for you. Okay, so we'll start the very same way we have with the strap to both feet. Elbows in line with shoulders, pulling on the strap, breastbone forward. Feel your sitting bones in contact with your blanket. Reach the insteps of the feet away from the body so you're rotating the feet so they're even. Come to the top of an in-breath and then start to extend forward. So let this be about sensation and not shape. Don't judge how far you just traveled. Feel it in your body. If this is a good working edge for you, you're going to try to maintain the angle. You can let the strap come down and building up height to meet the head. The legs will remain firm and active. The feet will remain in those wise actions as well. And you should feel the minimized space behind the knees. So that keeps closing. And every time you inhale, propel your trunk toward your feet. Try to drag the heels toward the hips. Spread the belly back. The head might eventually want to go lower. Just listen to that. And now begin to inhale and lengthen up. You can start to move the props aside. And one last time, just give the legs a good bounce. You might massage them or squeeze them. And then we're going to come into a very mild, gentle counter pose of a low supported bridge. We'll increase that in a little bit. But once you've released your legs, you can come onto your back with just your block. And you're going to take the lowest plane of the block under your sacrum. Have your shins be upright so your feet aren't as close as they could be. And they're also a little bit wider than your hips. That being said, make sure your toes are toeing in, that you're not toeing out. Your toes should be in line with your heels. And then try to find a way to unfold the arms so that the palms can face up. The shoulders can release down. And let the block help the tailbone move into the soft tissue of the body, move gently toward the ceiling. And try to rock the head so that the neck elongates and the chin and chest come together. Look toward your cheeks. At this point, just trust that you've set this up pretty well. And now just let yourself be held in the pose. Take 5 breaths, just really receiving the sensation of the pose. And now you're gonna just help your feet in a little bit so they're more hip width apart. And you're gonna lift your hips enough and turn the block up a level if you need it. Otherwise, some of you might be just perfect where you are. But we'll keep it running across the spine because we've done so much forward bending in this class. We want a little extra surface area. So you're gonna keep it running across the lower back. Unfold the arms again, palms up. And maybe after a little bit of time, you can begin to extend the legs one by one, resting on the heels and toeing in. So you're keeping the inner thighs rolling down. Kneecaps looking up, inner thighs rolling down. Reach out through the inner feet. Keep the chest rising. Just try a few breaths, pushing the heels with a little extra effort into the floor to encourage the tailbone to keep finding its way up toward the ceiling. Go ahead and step the feet back one by one. Lift your hips and move the block aside. And stretch your arms out to each side and then raise the feet one at a time. So keep your knees together, feet together. We're going to do belly turning pose, but only for the purpose of releasing the spine, so not your fullest or deepest. Moving in the L shape. So on an exhale, move halfway over to the left and then halfway pull up to the shoulders. Move back down and over. So limit your range of motion, not your fullest, deepest. Exhale to the right, halfway over, halfway up. So the L shape, and then down and over. You also feel a nice little massage on the lower back. Try to anchor the shoulders evenly throughout the movement. Revolving the belly in the opposite direction of the legs to keep things equalized. You're moving into the twist on exhale, out of it on inhale. And next time you come to center, you can grab your shins or your thighs, hug your legs in. Let's take a few breaths with one singular curve along the spine from the brainstem to the tailbone. And from there, just listening in to anything else the body is requesting before you come into a final resting pose. We want to address anything that's asking to be moved or shifted or attention paid to. Address that now and then begin to set up for Shavasana. You might want a little support behind the knees. The back might be asking for that. Make sure the head has enough height that your chin can tilt down rather than up. Taking a few moments to just arrange yourself on the floor, putting enough space between the feet that your sacral band, your abdomen, your pelvis can kind of widen. Enough space between the hands that your armpits aerate, palms face up. And after making some adjustments, just start to settle into the pose, surrendering all effort at this point. Sensing the passive body after we use the body in these various ways. There's resulting energy that's released throughout the body. The breath has new pathways to travel throughout the body. Sometimes you can sense your own energetic vibration here. Some teachers describe it as if the body has been soaking in ginger ale. But no matter what you're noticing, just allow. There's no wrong results. All that's required is to notice and allow. Observing your own spontaneous, automatic breathing. Releasing all the effort from those legs that just worked so hard. Smoothing away any tension that's living on your face, forehead, eyes, mouth, jaw, tongue, throat. Just taking this last minute just in silence. And start to draw in some deeper breaths. Maybe invite very small and simple movement. Bringing yourself out of the pose this way. Beginning to rock your head and bend your elbows, bend your knees. And gently help yourself to one side of your body. When you arrive to your side, just take a few more moments, just in stillness. And then find the easiest way you can to bring yourself to a seated position. And once you're there, joining the hands together in front of the heart. Lifting the corners of the mouth and just inviting a sense of gratitude into the heart. Let's take a deep breath in together as a group through the nose. And let it go. From the place within me that I know to be divine, I honor that place within each of you. Namaste. Okay. Well, thanks everyone. I hope you have a great week. Just a few announcements. Riley Yoga outside in Riley, which is Verona. I'm teaching every other week on Saturdays. Starts this Saturday, 10 to 11. And gentle yoga is now going to be drop-in friendly. So that'll start on the 19th. That's Wednesdays at 10. And it's just a range of people there. Everybody needs gentle for one reason or another. So feel free to swing into that class on occasion or regularly. And hope to see you guys soon. Bye.